We came up with 3 equations, and now we're going to solve them. So we have 3 equations and 3 unknowns. We have to solve the values of A, B, and C. So let's begin. Ooh. So this is now our equations in standard form. So the method I'm going to use is using a matrix. So augmented matrix. I'm gonna do is I'm gonna write the coefficients of A in the first, what's that, column, coefficients of B in the second column, coefficients of C in the third column, and then the constants in the right side of this vertical line. So this indicates the augmented matrix. So let's do it. So for the first equation, the coefficients are 1, 1, 1, and the constant is 1. So we just write 1, 1, 1, and then constant is 1. Ooh. That's the first entry in the first row. Next is second. It's -1, +1, -1, and then the constant is -3. Okay. What do you want to achieve here? So this is our augmented matrix. What we want to do is transform it into the form where the left side is identity matrix. So it comes 1, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 0, 0, 1. Then whatever will be the values here will be the answers. Okay. So this is what we call the reduced row echelon form. So we have to do some transformations, or what we call column and row operations, transform this matrix into an RREF, reduced row echelon form. Then here we go, come with me. So this is the matrix, and this is what we want it to look like at the end of this video. And this asterisk here are the answers, the values. This would be the value for A, B, C. So whatever will come out at the right side of this augmented matrix will be the answers. Okay, so how do we transform it to the reduced row echelon form? So these are the elementary operations that you can use. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do row operations. So what are we allowed to do? First, we can interchange 2 rows. So for example, we can interchange the first row and the second row. Switch or to swap. Second is you can multiply each element in a row or column by a non-zero number. So for example, here, since these are not 1, right? So if you want to make this entry here 1, you can divide all of these entries in this row by 8, so that the entry for this is 1. As an example. Third is you can multiply a row by a non-zero number and add the result to another. Okay. So let's try. So again, looking, this is what we want to do. This is what we want to achieve. So the obvious choice here is to add row 1 and row 2, right? So add row 1 and row 2, and then whatever will be the result, I will write that in the second row. So row 1 plus row 2 will be replacing row 2. Everything else will be the same. So does it look like? So this is row 1, right? This is row 1, this is row 2, and this is row 3. So row 1 plus row 2, 1 plus negative 1 is 0. So that's what we're going to do right in the second row. 1 plus 1 is 2. 1 plus negative 1 is 0. And then 1 plus negative 3 is negative 2. Okay. All the rest are the same, so just copy them. Okay. So we want the second row to be 0, 1, 0, right? So next is we divide the second row by 1/2, because 2 times 1/2 is 1, and we replace that to the second row. 0 times 1/2 is 0, the same as dividing by 2. 2 times 1/2, or 2 divided by 2, is 1, and then 0 divided by 2 is 0. Negative 2 divided by 2 is negative 1. Okay? Now our second row is okay, right? We found the value for B. So everything else will be copied. Okay? Now let's focus on the first row. So one way of doing this is to get rid of this entry. So we do is we subtract R1 by R2. Then replace that to R1. Okay, so 1 minus 0, 1, 1 minus 1 is 0, and then 1 minus 0, 1. 1 minus negative 1. 1 minus negative 1 is 1 plus 1, which is 2. Okay, so 2. Then everything else is copied. Oh, sorry, forgot. Okay, so almost done. How can we get rid of this? Okay, just let it be for now. Then focus on the third row. Okay. So, okay, so just now, again, we're done with second row. So we're gonna do is, because we aim for this to be 1, we're gonna divide all the entries of third row by 2 for this to be 1. Right, so divide, or it's the same as multiplying by 1/2. So 1/2 R3, replace R3. Okay, so 8 divided by 2 is 4. 4 divided by 2 is 2. And then 2 divided by 2 is 1. 8 divided by 2 is 4. Everything else is the same. Okay. We want to get rid of this 4 here. So what we're gonna do is multiply the first row by 4 and then subtract by the third row. Okay? So for R1, 4 times R1 subtracted by R3, we will replace the entries in R3. So 4 times 1 is 4, minus 4 is 0, 0. 4 times 0 is 0, minus 2 is negative 2, and then 4 times 1 is 4, minus 1 is 3. 4 times 2 is 8, minus 4 is 4. So everything else is copy. Next is we have to get rid of this one. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna multiply the second row by negative positive 2, because that's the opposite of negative 2, and then add it to third row. That will replace the third row. So 0 times 2, well, 0, it's just 0. Nothing will change. This is 2 times 1 is 2, plus negative 2 is 0. 2 times 0 is 0, plus 3 is 3. And then 2 times negative 1 is negative 2. Negative 2 plus 4 is 2. Right? And then all else is the same. Ooh, so many empty spaces. Again, now we can divide this by 3, which is actually the same as multiplying by 1/3. So we'll do 1/3 of R3. We'll replace R3. So divide by 3 all. So 0, 0. 3 divided by 3 is 1. 2 divided by 3 is 2/3. All else the same. So finally, we want to get rid of this entry here. We want to make it 0. And to do that, we're gonna subtract the first row by the third row. So first row minus third row will replace the first row. So 1 minus 0 is 1. 0 minus 0 minus 0 is 0. And then 1 minus 1 is 0. And then 2 minus 2/3. So let's make it, solve it. So this common denominator is 3. So how do you do this? Right? So of course the whole number has a denominator of 1. 3 divided by 1 is 3 times 2 is 6, which makes sense because 6 divided by 3 is 2. And then copy. 6 minus 2 is 4/3. So 4/3. Then copy the rest. 0, 1, 0, negative 1, 0, 0, 1, and 2/3. Therefore, this is 1 is the value of A, 4/3, B is negative 1, C is 2/3, and of course you've already solved that D equals 1. These are the coefficients of the cubic function.